Hey, welcome back to Get Down to Business. Today, we're going to dive into a topic that's incredibly relevant for every entrepreneur and professional: how to drive impact beyond the border by effectively navigating the worlds of media and public policy. Our guest is a remarkable individual who's done just that. I'm thrilled to introduce Gregory Lyakhov. Gregory is the youngest nationally syndicated columnist in the country, with his work appearing in prestigious publications like the Wall Street Journal and The Hill. He's an expert voice on critical issues such as education reform, school choice, and fighting anti-Semitism. Gregory is constantly collaborating with prominent leaders like Charlie Kirk and Alan Dershowitz. He's a familiar face on media outlets like Fox and Friends. He brings a unique perspective on bridging business, media, and public policy, offering a look at advocacy and public relations strategies that are essential for today's leaders. Gregory Lyakhov, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh my gosh, you are the youngest nationally syndicated columnist in the country. That's an incredible achievement, my friend. What was your journey to get there, and what inspired you to focus on public policy issues like education reform?
Yeah, so that's a wonderful question. So actually, for 16 years of my life, I had undiagnosed ADHD. And for me, that meant that I was a failing student. I couldn't read, I couldn't write. And then only last year did I finally get diagnosed and my entire life changed. I picked up my first book, which was actually written by Alan Dershowitz, called Case for Israel. And that inspired me to start advocating for the victim, for against anti-Semitism, and for issues that I care about, like education policy. And ever since then, Alan Dershowitz, the first author I ever read, became my mentor, and my entire life changed even again. And I started to contribute to more and more publications, and, here I am.
Amazing. And I'm so grateful that you came over here. Your work has appeared in major publications, as mentioned, like the Wall Street Journal and The Hill. What would you say is the key to crafting a message that resonates with a broad audience in such a diverse and frankly competitive media environment?
Yeah, exactly. So the real message that you want to spread is one thing, but it has to be interwoven into a relevant topic that everyone is discussing. For example, when I write about a nonprofit or a different type of business, I weave that message into a relevant topic. So if it's an education nonprofit, I discuss, the Department of Education and how the Trump administration is planning to dismantle it. So it's something that everyone wants to read, and everyone's going to pick up the message behind it. So it really is the art of crafting and weaving those two things and ideas together.
And in your work, you're constantly fighting for policy changes. You sort of just touched on that, but I want to dig deeper into that. For entrepreneurs and business leaders listening, how do the strategies you use for advocacy and public relations apply to growing a business or shaping its brand?
Yeah, definitely. So first off, the most important part is to never go into a straight sponsored content route. So you never want to just release an article that just talks about your business, or publish a tweet or an ad that just talks about your organization. You want to give people a reason to pay attention to it. And the best way of doing that is to connect it to something relevant in the world. I'm very big on politics, so I tend to connect everything to politics. But if you're big on culture or any other sort of thing that's going on in the world, sports, connect your brand to that, and it will improve and drive your engagement much higher than it is.
And I'm curious how you see the intersection of business, media, and public policy evolving in the coming years. What would you say professionals should be preparing for?
Yeah, definitely. So right now we are going through a shift in our media. We are going from the regular publications like the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, the in-print publications, into individual news outlets and independent news outlets like podcasts, Substacks, blogs, individual media channels. All of that is now very big. So the shift is only going to continue. Will print media always be a thing? Of course. But what entrepreneurs in particular should understand is that maybe sponsoring a podcast for the same amount of money you would pay for, a sponsored ad in the New York Times, that may be more bang for your buck, because the podcast's audience is going to continue to grow when the New York Times audience is going to stagnate very soon.
I'm chatting with Gregory Lyakhov. Gregory is the youngest nationally syndicated columnist in the country. It is such a pleasure having him on the program. He shared most vulnerably a little bit of his background that led to this point and some of the accolades that have been received. But Gregory, I know that you have collaborated, as mentioned, with leaders like Charlie Kirk, and you call Alan Dershowitz a mentor. What have you learned about effective collaboration and building a powerful network from working with some of these prominent figures?
Exactly. That's a wonderful question. So if you look at my text, let's say with Alan Dershowitz, you would see that he responds in very short sentences and in the most effective way of communicating. If you look at my emails with Charlie Kirk, for example, or even my conversations with him, again, it's the same way. It's just very efficient because these people value their time. So really what I learned is that out of everything, your time is always the most valuable asset and their time is the most valuable asset to you. So even if they spend, 30 seconds reading an email or something like that, that's already a big step forward. Something else I learned is it's all about how you present yourself. If you present yourself as a person who wants to learn and is eager to do more and more and more, people are much more likely to respond to that and much more likely to help you. If you position yourself as a person who is already so experienced and very well-rounded, then people might be less likely to help you in the future.
Gregory, you've become such a strong and powerful voice on the topic of education reform and school choice. Why are these issues so important to you, and what role do you think that the business community should play in it?
Yeah, definitely. So, excuse me. So, personally, the reason why I value education reform is because, again, for 16 years, I had undiagnosed ADHD. I was failed by a public school system. And I personally go to one of the best public schools in the country. And I was still failed. So there are millions of students out there that are in my shoes that deal with the exact same thing, whether they're failed by their public schools in a way with a learning disability or any other ways. And they're all over the country. The real education reform that needs to take place is school choice, which privatizes education under governmental, obviously, guidelines. And the business community should be very open to that. They should be encouraging charter schools. They should be investing in charter schools. We have people like Bill Ackman already investing in charter schools. That should just continue. And the more investment we have in charter schools, the more of an education reform we have. And overall, we can see that our trend in the United States is definitely going towards that charter school reform.
Mm-hmm. And you've also become a vocal advocate in the fight against anti-Semitism. So important. How can businesses and individuals leverage their influence to address critical social issues to them?
Yeah, well, I believe that businesses in general have to be very clear about their policy stance, because if a business believes in a mission, it should really stick to that mission. And that's the most important thing. What we have seen is that businesses who try and balance between the two sides, whether it's Israel and Palestine or any other issue, those businesses ultimately fail because they're accused of supporting a position that they may not actually support. So if I was a business leader, I would be very clear about my position if I have a position in political issues.
Yeah, and that's something we emphasize here all the time. Again, it doesn't matter what your issues are that are important to you, some of which you might adamantly disagree with myself or Gregory, but the main thing is, again, step up and be vocal. And it's so important. Obviously, be respectful. Please be respectful. Gregory, I know that there's a lot of listeners that are tuning in and are deeply inspired by your story, by your journey, which I'm just excited to stay in touch with you and continue to watch all that you're going to do. What would your advice be to somebody that might be tuning in and is wondering how can they take the first steps to, whether it's entrepreneurship or just social action? What should they do tomorrow, today?
Well, look, all I say is that if you really want it, you should go for it. Because for me, I spent my last year 24/7 doing articles, reading, researching into politics, and I started off with nothing and I knew no one. So it really is just in the last year I built this up through just every day dedicating my time. And if you really want something, you can do the exact same thing. Just dedicate all of your time to it, and I could almost guarantee it will work out in the future.
Amazing. Gregory Lyakhov, I really appreciate you joining us. And I know it's very easy to find you online because all it takes is Googling your name. But where can our listeners read your columns and connect with you?
Sure. You can follow my X account, which is just at Gregory Lyakhov. And you can subscribe to my blog, which is gregorylyakov.com, as well as, my other columns. If you just search up my name, you'll find them everywhere.
Amazing. Gregory, thank you so much for coming on. Please don't be a stranger. Come back on. We'd love to talk to you more. Your story is inspirational. You're talking about really, really important issues. I just wish you all the best.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Well, after the break, we are going to continue this conversation all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. I've got a lot more in store. We've been on the air for 12 years, and there is an episode that will speak and resonate with you with some great tips, advice, and information. Check out my website, syklein.com. Check us out on your favorite podcast app. Search for Get Down to Business. For friends, make sure you subscribe, rate, review, and share so you don't miss a single episode. Again, a lot more small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship after this quick break.